there are filmmakers that can, at least on the licensing side, I mean, it's not unusual to see like, oh, you're making like $5,000 a month. That's awesome. And then there's some that are like, well, they make $50,000 to $100,000 a month.
And then she said, well, if you guys really like doing these kinds of films, and our team is in agreement, we're like, if this is all we did, this would be amazing. She's like, you should consider doing like 3 or 4 of these and create like a little series. And she's like, somebody's going to be way more likely to buy 4 of these than they are 1.
Like, if that's what you love, you should do that. Right. Like, don't worry about what we like. Right. You need to be pursuing the things that you're passionate about, because they'll keep you fired up.
Right. On episode 335 of the podcast, you're going to learn how to turn your passion projects into profitable ventures by seeking funding and support, and we'll share with you where you can start searching. And you'll also walk away with some ideas on how to create content that meets the specific needs of target audiences to make maximum impact and profit. What's up, friend? I'm Ryan Correll from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business Podcast, the show for corporate and commercial filmmakers, where we're talking about the business of video production. I'm so glad that you're here. Today, we're talking about different ways to monetize your passion. And if you're new here and you haven't watched my free 6-figure filmmaker workshop yet, I want to invite you to check it out. I've been running a video production business for 18 years. I've got a team. We've hit $1 million multiple times with shooting. The majority of what we do are brand films, and these average out to be around $20,000 or so a piece. And I made a lot of mistakes over the last 18 years. And in this workshop, in this 6-figure filmmaker workshop, I share with you some of my best tips and tricks on how I've built a sustainable business, and want you to be able to do the same. So go check out that workshop. It's totally free. You can get access to that workshop today by going to studiosherpas.com/workshop. It is my gift to you. And stick around. I've got a special announcement. I know a lot of you have been waiting to hear this. So stick around to the end of the interview, and I'll share that with you. With that, let's get into today's episode. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to another episode of the show. Today, I've got with me Cody Dulock, who is very familiar with this show, as he was on, I feel like episode 60, like a bazillion episodes ago. Anyway, Cody, he helped this company called Filmsupply, which I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with, 8 years ago, and is now helping start the new highly curated photo licensing brand called Stills. You guys have such cool names for everything. He also leads the artist representation teams for the FM brands Filmsupply and Stills, and also leads FM's film funding company Trust, which I just learned about yesterday through my conversation with Mia, which I'm super excited about. I'm not sure we're going to be able to talk about that today, but maybe we can touch on it a little bit. Anyway, Cody Dulock, welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you, Ryan. So good to see your face.
It's good to be seen, So, Cody, give us just a snapshot of your filmmaking career and how you ended up where you're at today.
Yeah, so the day me and my wife both chose to quit our day jobs and start doing filmmaking, video production stuff. I was working on a really terrible feature film that gave me incredible experience, and forever grateful for it. But, and then we started shooting weddings, and honestly, I was like super arrogant and prideful and thinking like, man, I'm so good. Like, everybody's going to hire me, and it didn't work that way. Anyways, eventually things picked up after we completely ran out of savings, and things started getting good after that. So, hey, it's kind of how it goes. But I think I met you I don't even know when I met you, but
yeah, I was trying to remember
things like In Focus.
Yeah, it was probably, In Focus. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like conferences and things like that. And so we were shooting lots of weddings, doing that side of things, and then started shooting like narrative type projects for nonprofits and churches and stuff, which was kind of interesting, and started doing more freelance cinematography, DP type work. And then ended up I was helping shoot an ad for Musicbed, and worked on a couple things there. And then Daniel, the CEO, was like, "Hey, we're starting this new thing called Filmsupply. Do you want to help like start it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds cool. That'll be different. Like, I love leadership, and so that'll be an interesting take because I'd started building a team for shoots and things. But so moved on to that. Totally new challenge. I didn't know, honestly, didn't know what the heck I was doing. No idea. They're like, hey, you got to like convince filmmakers to be part of this thing that doesn't exist. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Like I've done sales, so sure, I figured that out.
Yeah.
And then it's like you figure that out, and then you figure out, start helping with like, well, what should we even sell? And then like, what's the quality bar? And then so it's like just going through all of the pieces of like helping figure out like what is Filmsupply, what makes it special. And so at this point, it's like there's a few things that make it different, which is the case for all of the brands under FM, which is like our parent kind of umbrella. So you have Filmsupply, Musicbed. You mentioned Trust. Stills is our new like photo licensing company we're building. And then we also have a record label called Label. We like simple words, you know. It's but they all kind of have the same ideology that it's like for the licensing brands, the roster is highly curated to some of the best like creatives on the planet. And for Filmsupply, it's the people doing the best commercial work primarily. There's some specialists in there too that don't drive, but fly jets around tornadoes and things and do just like insane stuff. And then the curation, everything is like highly curated. So, I mean, for us, it's like we never liked sifting through junk to license. So we just said, we're not going to do that. We're just going to make it awesome. And then the third part is the creative and marketing. So we've done conferences and we've had publication, Film and Music Magazine. We had another publication called Behind the Work for Filmsupply, where we would send these things out to clients, but showcasing the artists and filmmakers we rep. Gosh, there's all kinds of stuff we've done over the years. Billboard campaigns that are highly targeted, like putting them outside of like advertising executives' office windows that says like, Jerry Graff, this billboard's for you, Musicbed. And like, so lots of really cool stunts and things over the years. And last fall, we launched a company called Trust. So we were kind of playing with the funding and development side of filmmaking and trying to figure out like, how does this work and how can it be sustainable? And so I brought on somebody to the team last year named Sarah. She's amazing. So she's basically kind of like the point person for Trust. She does all the deals and all the development for everything over there. And I kind of let her just like take the wheel and run with it. And she's doing an incredible job. But basically Trust is like, there's some different ways to get funding, and we just kind of spurred up some different ways that nobody's ever done before. So because we have Filmsupply, which licenses footage, we have this vehicle of recouping investments. So basically, Trust has the ability to say, hey, Ryan, you have a passion project you want to make. That's awesome. We love the idea. It aligns with what we think is also going to license well. So we could give you this much cash, and we're going to help you like tailor your film a little bit and help you with the development of it. And some part of it too is like for Filmsupply and Trust, like we have quite a few like Vimeo staff picks under our belt at this point for projects that we've helped develop and fund and say like, hey, we need to change this up so it'll resonate better with an audience. And so, and I think that's just from like the sheer volume of work we've seen. Like Filmsupply, we have another like outlet called Filmsupply Films, where it's basically a highly curated channel where we get all these films from the filmmakers we rep, and then we license the footage from those films. And so I mean, I think we have close to like 200 films on there right now, but we're doing exclusive premieres and other things. So we use Trust as this vehicle to help fund things, and we help partner with the filmmaker to even clean up their script and all that stuff, shot list. So they go shoot it. We get all the footage and we license it. We feature the film. We get it featured in different channels and kind of help distribute it. Do the things that filmmakers don't really like to do, or sometimes don't know how to do effectively. So we just have experience in that area. Some other ways is somebody just shot something for fun, like it could be a spec ad or something, and they come to us and they're like, "Hey, like, is this worth anything? Would you guys?" And we're like, "Hey, let's take a look. We'll see if that makes sense to purchase it, and we'll do an exchange for like the licensing royalties, and then they can get a lump sum of cash and go do whatever they want." And then the other part of that is there's sometimes where we have like a target we're trying to hit, and we'll commission filmmakers to go create things. So it's like, "Hey, we need to get Middle Eastern family moments," or something like that. But it has to be really cool, really creative, and different. So we'll get people who pitch on that, and we'll award jobs, and they'll go shoot it. And yeah, sometimes they make films from them. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just footage, and that's fine. But we're always like trying to aim toward like helping people grow their careers too. So the film side of things is always really beneficial for the filmmaker, instead of just kind of like a cash play. Because of like our audience of hundreds of thousands of people through our email list and followers and all the things. And it's just an audience that filmmakers don't have, so it's usually our audience is the people that want to hire you. And that's kind of like the big difference is your audience are the people who admire you and sometimes want to hire you too. But it's just a exponential factor, so it's a little different. Yeah, man, I can dig into all kinds of things.
Well, hey, man, I just appreciate you coming on the show. It's been great, and we'll see you on the next episode.
All right, bye, Ryan. See you later.
All right, so I chatted with Mia yesterday, and she kind of gave me the download a little bit on Trust, and my ears like perked.
Okay.
Ears perked? Can your ears perk? Is that the right? Is that
Oh, they can perk.
Okay, yeah. I know.
If anything can perk,
perks,
it can be your ears.
Okay, good. So perked my ears. I definitely want to talk about creating new revenue streams, licensing footage, kind of, the work that you're doing inside of Filmsupply, because, as filmmakers, we have a hard time running business. There's just so many things. And sometimes we're sitting on a huge pile of cash that we don't realize, that there's a ton of potential. So in all of what you're talking about, that's why I just kind of let you keep going, because I'm like, there's hopefully people as we're listening, we're like, oh, I see an opportunity. Maybe there is an opportunity to have a chat with Cody and share what we're working on, what we want to be working on. Day one, I remember meeting Daniel. Maybe it was the same event that I met you at. I don't remember which one it was. But Musicbed back then was pretty brand new, but around enough to where, Daniel could buy dinner for, I don't know how many people were there, 20 people or something like that. And I got to sit near him, and I was like, man, this guy just seems like he's got it all figured out. He's got this amazing vision. And we had been using Musicbed for licensing, but Musicbed was like the first company to come out to try to rescue the wedding filmmakers that, I won't mention any names, but we had a couple of mutual friends that were getting busted for, for copyrighted music. And I just love that from the very beginning, the type of artists that Musicbed had were just amazing. The music was just it was curated. And when I was talking to Mia yesterday, we're talking about sponsorship opportunities through the Studio Sherpas brand and the different events and all the things that we have going on. And I was like, man, if I had to if I got to pick like who I'd want to be talking about and to really be bragging about, Musicbed it's like, and we use like, whoa, I'm getting a little excited here. We use all of them,
Easy.
right? Like just depending on the project, the budget, and the need, and all of that stuff. But whenever we are looking, you hop on Musicbed and it's like pretty much every single track is like, wow, that's really good. Listen to this one. Wow, that's really good. But all the other sites, it's like, there's a lot more searching. And what we don't realize is that a lot of time can go into, or no, I think we all do realize so much time goes into trying to find the perfect track. But when you work with somebody like Musicbed, I think the search time is way less. So maybe the cost can be a little bit more, and we're not here to like talk about cost differentiations between all the different brands or whatever, but know that your time is extremely valuable. And if you can find something in half the time or 10 times faster, you're saving that money. So definitely worth, if you haven't used Musicbed or checked it out, definitely look at it. And I think we have like an ambassador. I think there's some kind of a discount, so I'm going to include that in the show notes. So make sure that you're using that link, because you will receive some kind of a discount if you use that. So with that, I did want to just ask, I think
Hey, I do want to touch on that.
Please, yes.
So back in the day, I was using Musicbed too.
Yeah.
Before I got hired over here, and same reasons. And I think they put out an article. I don't remember, but you've probably done this before, where you started as an owner of a business. You start calculating your hour rate, and then you crawl in a deep dark corner when you realize you're making like $3 an hour because you work ungodly amount of hours, right? So just kind of bouncing off of that, time is money, right? But they put out an article that was like, hey, you need to start like transferring your licensing costs to your clients. Like stop absorbing that in your rate.
Yeah.
Like raise your prices by a little bit, and you can easily explain like, hey, this
I remember
is the
this.
fee, this is part of it. And I started doing that, and I was like, oh, wow, it actually works. Imagine that. And then just didn't stop doing it. And I was like, I wonder if I could get a little bit more. And I, do that. And I was like, all right, this is great. So now I can get a track, and it would cost me, $200 or whatever. I can charge a client like $300, and they don't care, because it's all about this vision that they're trying to fulfill for a marketing project. And as long as I can reach their target demographic and help them achieve their goals, like at the end of the day, they're just like, what does it cost? And if you can explain it, and they can see your work and be like, yeah, they're good. Like, they don't care. Anyways, that was a random little side note there.
Yeah, just to piggyback
thought that could be valuable.
Yeah, very valuable, because that might have been, when we were budgeting for our wedding films back then, we didn't budget for music because we just didn't. We used like our brand, we used like independent artists that they would have never found out. So we were stealing their stuff and using it. And so there was no budget line for it. But then I think when Musicbed came out, and it was like, hey guys, here is a high quality opportunity to license music at an affordable cost, not like these insane numbers that all these other companies were trying to get you to, to enroll in or whatever. And I think I remember that article, and I was like, oh, well, if we just like charge the clients, and then here's what I've learned along the line, like put this in your pipe and smoke it. Don't just charge what the licensing fee is, similar to what Cody just said, charge on top, because you still have time involved in like searching, right? There's your time for searching and finding. So you want to, charge more than just the licensing fee. And then from there, that's when we started saying like, oh, well, if we need to rent equipment, let's charge for the equipment rental. And then also let's think about like, well, it takes time to drive to pick up the equipment, and it takes time to return it, and it takes time to find the right place and to make the call. So like, if it costs $500 for the gear, let's charge $600 or $700. Like, let's make sure that we're covering our time too, not just the cost. And then again, like you said, passing that off to the client, and the client, it's like, this is what it's going to take to do the project. If you don't want to do the project, then then call somebody else. But this is what it costs. So all good stuff. Here's my quick question. I don't know if it's a quick question. We just finished this like 35-minute documentary. I had a chat with somebody And they said, hey, we were talking about like trying to sell the film. And so I wasn't even thinking about this. We got hired by this university, this beautiful documentary highlighting one of their coaches who's been there for 40 years, has the most winningest coach second most winningest coach now in the state of Michigan. Just his legacy is incredible. So we create this 35-minute film for the college. It's this like amazing piece that becomes a sales tool for this university. But for them, this is this legacy, like highlighting their mission, vision, values, everything it's embodied in this guy and how he's like empowered all these young men. So anyway, as I'm chatting with this person, I'm like, well, somebody suggested maybe we sell this thing. And so she's giving me some ideas. And then she said, well, if you guys really like doing these kinds of films, and our team is in agreement, we're like, if this is all we did, this would be amazing. She's like, you should consider doing like 3 or 4 of these and create like a little series. And she's like, somebody's going to be way more likely to buy 4 of these than they are 1. And for 4 of them, you're going to make a lot more money than you would just on 1. So when Mia said that, when she mentioned trust yesterday, I was like, oh man, like maybe there is something here. So let me just say that for anybody that has an idea or that already has a project that they've done that they haven't really considered selling or maybe doing another piece like that, at what point would it make sense to say, hey, trust is something that you should look into to be able to take this thing to the next level or to recoup some costs or something like that?
Yeah, for sure. And I think like just kind of resonating with what you're saying in terms of like the series related projects. Like I talk to a lot of filmmakers who are getting stuff sold to Netflix and other things. And mainly the streaming services are interested if it's like a little bit shorter form, like 45 minutes or whatever. If it is a series, like you have a higher likelihood of somebody being interested versus like a 45-minute doc. That's it.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different, like even when you're shopping like festivals and things, there's so many little nuances to every festival, but time length is like a weird thing, man. It's like if your film is 9 to 12 minutes, like you can get into these festivals and you're great in this category. If it's 15 to 20, forget about it. If it's, this length, that like, so there's like some very nuanced things. And for trust specifically, and this goes for Filmsupply too, but we're always looking for things that creatively are at a very high level. So depending on the filmmaker and the director, the DP, whatever, the whole setup is going to depend on whether it's something we might be interested in or not. Now, that doesn't mean other people wouldn't be interested in it, but those are the things that we're looking at. And also licensability, which is kind of like a hard one to gauge, especially from the outside when you have no data on that stuff.
Yeah.
But those are things that our team looks at. So we're like, okay, is this film, number one, is it a good film at all? Like, does it make sense? Was it shot well? Is it edited well, right? Like, does it have a good story arc? Like, am I surprised? Like, what is it? So we're always gauging it in that way. Because we're thinking through, like, can we actually get this featured on other channels?
Yeah.
Like, will Short of the Week pick it up? Will Director's Library, Director's Notes pick it up? What about Nowness? What about, can we get this an opportunity for a Vimeo staff pick premiere? Like, so we're thinking about all these things because we have all these relationships that we can leverage at these different places, but they all have a very high bar. And so then we're thinking through the lens of licensability, like I mentioned. So we're like, okay, what are the scenes? Like, and is it lit well? Is it, because our client base are like agencies and people making the like Super Bowl commercials. Footage will be in a lot of Super Bowl commercials and things like that. We have movies and TV shows and things we get featured in, and it's a plethora of things too. Sometimes it's like a whole scene of footage of this character or multiple, like we'll see people build entire ads from like multiple story threads from Filmsupply. So we just like start to analyze all of this stuff through that lens of like, what exactly is the subject matter and how was it filmed?
Yeah.
And using doc stuff, like we've seen some really incredible documentary stuff come through the door. We featured some films. I think one of our first docs we featured on Filmsupply Films was called Rescate by director Mark Bone. And we kind of helped him clean it up a bit, I guess is probably the best way to say it. And ended up getting a Vimeo staff pick, and is a beautiful film. It was very intentional with how they shot it. They were thinking about lighting and time. It's hard to do with documentary, you know. So like but it's like, how do we take this to the next level of creative?
Yeah.
And which is the challenge that's like, and this is a bit of like what I touched on in our previous podcast about like the quality of your work and the curation of your portfolio. But like, if you're creating things that you love, there are some lanes in which it's like, hey, I don't care what it looks like. I just want a great story. And that's awesome. Like, if that's what you love, you should do that.
Right.
Like, don't worry about what we like.
Right. Sure.
You know, you need to be pursuing the things that you're passionate about because they'll keep you fired up.
Right.
But if those are the things you want to get hired for, like, you got to put that out there. Otherwise, like, people will never know. And if all they see is like, well, I'm tired of shooting weddings, like, some people get there, some people love it.
Yeah.
But if that's like your stance and you're like, man, I'm just tired of shooting weddings, like, I really want to do more commercial work. Great. Stop showing weddings on your portfolio site.
Right.
Just stop it. I know those are your pay jobs. That's how people hire you. Create a new website, create a new brand. I don't know. Like, you're familiar with this. But curating your portfolio is critical, right? So, but doing these passion projects like this doc you're talking about is like, if you want to do more of these, like, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, you just made one, and like you're like, gosh, this is amazing. Like, I love this. Like, I want to do another one.
Yeah.
So strategically, it's like, yeah, if you can make a series, that's awesome. If you're like thinking about like, man, how could I get cash to make the next one?
Yeah.
Like, how could I like make this sustainable, right? There is like the funding pipeline, and just knowing like what we're looking for. There might be other places that have grants and stuff for doc work or narrative work. I don't know what the process is for all of those places. It's a little different. And then the other side of it is like, well, let's say you created it yourself, like the licensing side of it. So something I've learned over the years is, after featuring like 150 to, I don't know how many short films it is at this point on Filmsupply Films, licensing the work from short films for their ads and projects like has never diminished or damaged the brand of the filmmaker. In the beginning, we were like, we don't know what's going to happen. And filmmakers were kind of scared. And I was like, well, let's just give it a try and see, you know. And if anything, it's only helped their career, which is crazy, but it's worked well. So, I mean, if a filmmaker starts like we have a project on Filmsupply, a short film project that's been on there for a number of years. And I think it's made something like, I think the filmmaker's taken home like $500,000 at this point, like net. Just off of licensing of the footage from that film.
Oh my.
So generally speaking, licensing the footage from projects, one, we've seen it pay off your investment in the film.
Yeah.
And it can be rather quickly depending on what your investment is. Like, I mean, a lot of people shoot spec ads so they can get work of a certain type. Like, oh man, I've never done car commercials. Well, nobody's going to hire you to do a car commercial unless they see one. Yeah. So you better get on it. And so somebody will kick in their own $5,000. They'll put it to the side and invest in themselves. Right. Yeah. And then we'll take that ad, put it on Filmsupply Films, help them feature it, whatever. And then they start making licensing revenue off of it. And there's more than just a car and a car ad, right?
Right.
Like you got moments, you've got things, crazy camera movements, all the things. And I mean, I've seen, gosh, spec car ads make, I mean, it's similar, like 50 to
Oh
$100,000
my
that they
gosh.
take home. Um, I mean, there are filmmakers that can, at least on the licensing side, I mean, it's not unusual to see like, oh, you're making like 5 grand a month. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Like take home pay. Like that's really great. And then there's some that are like, well, they make 50 to $100,000 a month. That's great. So there's this kind of like
Like you
wide
guys are
range,
actually
and it
cutting
totally depends
checks.
on
You're
like,
you're cutting $50,000 checks
yes,
on the regular for some filmmakers'
that's right.
license footage. Yeah, that's
That's right.
that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
we
I
got to
mean,
wind down
there are
here,
other,
but I want to know like
okay.
what's for a filmmaker who's like thinking like, should I do this? Our team always gets overwhelmed with like, okay, we've got so much footage and like tagging it and organizing it, putting it in a place, or like kind of what you're saying is like, well, maybe it's the piece itself that you're able to post and share and then like enter into your
Yeah.
process. So what would you suggest for anybody that is thinking like, I've got something really cool, or I do want to like step into this idea of licensing footage?
Yeah, so I think two things. One, if you already have a project created or you're looking for funding, um, Trust is a great avenue to check out. Withtrust.com is the website. And I mean, the worst thing that could happen is that we could say like, hey, this doesn't fit the direction we're going.
Yeah.
I mean, is that so bad?
Right.
Right? Like you've asked a lot of clients things and some have said no
Yeah.
and some have said yes. And you're probably forever grateful that you even asked. So, and then on the film supply side, it's like, I mean, people have archives of footage, right? Just tons of stuff. We're always looking, like I mentioned, like quality level. And you can look at filmsupply.com/films, look at all these films. And you can see the quality level we're looking for. If you're like anywhere close to this, like you should probably apply. Like there's a place where you can submit your film on there. So if you're just looking to get it featured, that's another avenue. If you're looking to start getting licensing representation, like you can apply to become a contributor, a filmmaker that we rep. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. You should probably try.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying, and just kind of bouncing back to the trust side too. It's like, yes, we will fund your film idea that you've been wanting to make for years. That's a possibility. We will say, hey, or it could be like, hey, we're not really into that idea for the direction we're going, but do you have other films that we could potentially help you like cash out to give you money for that film?
Right.
And then it's like, hey, I've done all these shoots. I've got these hard drives of stuff where it's like, I'm not doing anything with it. Like, and I'm just looking for quick cash so I can go on a Disney World vacation.
Yeah.
Like, great. Like, let's see what you got. So there's different angles that can be taken. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah. I think that's great.
Some way.
How can people connect with you? Obviously share the website if they want to know more, but what's the best way for them?
Yeah. I mean, on Trust, like going to that site, and I'm sure you'll put it somewhere in the show notes.
I'll put it somewhere.
But yeah, put it somewhere in the ether. It's fine. But there's an application. It'll say like apply CTA. Like just fill out the form and you'll kind of get going there. For Film Supply in the footer, filmsupply.com footer, there's I think it says like become a contributor. If you want to start licensing your work. If you want to submit a film to potentially get it featured on Film Supply Films, the Film Supply Films website, which is filmsupply.com/films, there's going to be like a submit button there somewhere on the homepage. So that's a few ways. If you're interested in any of the other brands, fm.co is like has all the stuff. So photography, like we're doing highly curated photo licensing, stills.com. If you like music, musicbed.com.
All the places. Awesome, dude. Super good to get time with you. We'll have to do another episode on AI coming at you.
Gosh, dude, there's so much to talk about with that.
I know.
And
It's wild.
like how to hack your business essentially to like talking about the 4-hour work week. You probably read that book.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Multiple times.
I've saved like days of work
Yeah.
using ChatGPT.
I'm with you. I feel like I have a new friend.
It's
you know,
insane.
It's like, I'm sorry, Ryan.
It's wild.
Let me try that one more time. Awesome, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, so
like,
good to be with
you.
you.
You didn't write that legal clause correctly.
Right.
Anyway.
It's good to see your face. Good to be with you. Thanks for sharing with us today, Cody.
Yeah, man. So good to see you. Thank you so much.
All right, my friend, thank you so much for hanging out. If you want access to any of the links that Cody and I shared on this episode, you can grab them just by going to the show notes page at studiosherpas.com/335, and all that stuff will be there. Here is the big announcement. So the Onward Summit, this is the in-person event that we host at our studio, world headquartered in Orion Township, Michigan, about 45 minutes north of Detroit. And it's been probably my favorite thing since the inception of Studio Sherpas, gathering a bunch of filmmakers to talk about business and to bring in presenters and hang out for a few days and grow together. It has been invaluable, not just to me, but seriously to the people that come. You can learn more about the event if you go to studiosherpas.com/onward. The event is called the Onward Summit, and we've got the dates. This is your save the date. This is your opportunity to save the date, put it in your calendar. Don't book anything around it. October 1st through October 4th are the dates we're meeting for the Onward Summit this year. Typically, people come in on that Sunday in the evening. We usually have an informal gathering that night, and we usually have a VIP opportunity for people to come and hang and grab dinner. So that's usually a smaller group on Sunday, and then on Monday is when sessions start, Monday morning. So if you're planning on coming, you should get in on Sunday night so that you don't miss any of the stuff itself starting on Monday. But I will say that the hallway conversations, the dinner conversations, the hanging out conversations, those are usually the richest. The content is super, super good, but I would venture to say that most people will say the friendships that they've created outside of the sessions themselves have been invaluable. So mark it on your calendars. And then usually the way that it goes, Wednesday, our last day together, that's we'll do a session in the morning, and then around lunchtime release everyone. So some people stick around and hang out after, but that's kind of the schedule there. So Onward Summit, October 1st to the 4th, pencil in your calendar, and soon enough actually, I'm not sure the dates on when we will open up registration, but there is limited space. We're only allowing up to 40 people at this event. So if it's something that you really want to do, then just make sure you're hanging out close to your inbox. I don't even know. A month from now or so, we're going to open registration. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. I think something like that. So anyway, if you like this episode, please leave a comment. If you think that somebody else in your circle could benefit from it, grab a screenshot of this episode, send it over, text it to your friend or colleague or whatever. I would so appreciate that. And if you're not in our community, we've got a free Facebook group that you can join just to kind of meet and make sure that I'm not like a total weirdo and that I kind of know what I'm talking about ish. You can join that free group by going to studiosherpas.com/community. And I think that's it. I'm glad that you're here. Have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you on the next episode.